February 18th, 2022 watch update. Previous update included January 1st to February 15th as a watch time, 46 days into the year. In 2013, there was a Russia meteor that injured over 100 people. And then in 2021, on February 15th, 46th day of the year, there was a freeze in Texas and over 100 people died due to power outages. In 2014, which was 8 years ago, around this time, February 15th to February 20th, Russia invaded the Ukraine. Here we are 8 years later, and the exact same thing is happening. It's a pattern. On the 15th to the 16th, there are over 100,000 troops surrounding the Ukraine from Russia. Same exact things happening that happened in 2014, 8 years later. In 2014, Obama was president with Biden as vice president, and Putin was the president of Russia and still is. Now here we are 8 years later, same exact Russia and Ukraine conflict is happening, and there's a similar name in leadership. Biden is now president, Harris is vice president, Putin still president of Russia. So biblically, some might say this is Gog, Magog happening again. A repeat 8 years later, which aligns a pattern for February. In 1917, during the previous pandemic, there was also a Russia and Ukraine conflict happening, the biggest one since 2014. Lenin was the president in Russia. There was a pandemic happening, which is similar to what we see today. And there was a Russian invasion to Ukraine. 1921. Started in 1917, lasted until 1921. February Revolution of 1917. So we're seeing a pattern, 8 years repeating, and then 100 years before today. A jubilee's 50 years, so every jubilee or every 50 years, 100 years would be 2 jubilees. We're seeing a repeated pattern. On the solar calendar, March 20th is the new year, so that would be like January 1st on Gregorian. 46 days later takes you to May 6th, which is the day before the sin. Adam and Eve ate the apple. Noah's flood occurred on the 17th day of the second month, which is May 7th on the solar calendar. Same day that Moses ascended to Mount Sinai. After 46 days in the year, 319 days are left until the next new year. We pointed that out last time as well. Okay, so we see a pattern in the numbers of the days on the two calendars, and we see similar major events happening in February.
My peacekeeper is going to start a war with the surface. That's bound to get me reelected.
President Stowe's approval rating reached a new low today when he failed to show up for a televised debate with Robert Logan, the man many pundits are picking as the next president of Metro City.
No darn dirty hippie's going to sit in my Oval Office eating mung beans and stinking of patchouli oil. I've got the blue core. My peacekeeper is going to start a war with the surface. That's bound to get me reelected.
281 can be written 218. The number is scrambled, which is the date today, which is when the Russia and Ukraine conflict is heating up. Just yesterday, there was rockets fired at a small village in the Ukraine, so many would consider that the first strike. Over 150,000 Russian troops surrounding the Ukraine just at February 17th into the February 18th. We see rockets fired. 281 watch date, and it landed on a 2 and an 8 and a 1, February 18th. Another significant event that happened on a 281 watch date would be August 21st, 281, 2017. That was the Great American Eclipse. Personal journey started for me, many others. I relocated to a lake. I'm over here on Lake Livingston on 8/12/2021, 4 years later. That's written 281. There was also a civil domestic abuse case between a man and a woman who were engaged that made headlines worldwide. The Gabby Petito, that actually was the same exact date that they were pulled over, and the footage of the police officer questioning them about their relationship and domestic abuse. I found that interesting. That was the day that I relocated clothes on a house at Lake Livingston. God considers himself the living waters. Since 2021, August, now we're in February 18th, 2022, another 281, as mentioned earlier, Russia and Ukraine's heating up again. Once again, another pattern that we're seeing here. The next watch date would be a series of 2s in the date. 222 means change is coming. You have February 20th, 2022, which is rare because there's so many 2s in the year. Isaiah 22:22 is the key of David. And then after the 20th, you'll have 6 repeating 2s. Another noteworthy event that happened in 2014 was the disappearance of flight MH370 with Malaysia Airlines. The trials are ongoing even to this day in 2022, 8 years later. They found fragments of the plane, but never recovered fully the flight or the story of how it went down. There was a series on ABC called Lost that came out, which was based on a plane crash on an island. The name of the flight was Oceanic 815. The Malaysia Air was MH370, which there's a 37. And I wanted to point out here, my last name is Marcinic, Oceanic 815 on my driver's license. As you can see here, my last name is Marcinic, which is like Oceanic, and then there's an 815 is my driver's license number. That was the exact flight that got lost in the series Lost. The rest of my driver's license number is 404, which means not found. It's a code that means not found or lost. So Oceanic is my last name. The number on my driver's license is 815, which is a plane number, and then 404 means lost. I found that very interesting. God pointed that out to me. Here's the 281 code. On 8/12 is when I moved to Livingston. I'm on Castle Court, 111 Castle Court, Livingston, Texas, 77351, 153 Fish. When I moved here, it was there's the 281 code, so I got a new driver's license on August 12th. My driver's license previous to this one, when I updated it with the gold seal, was issued February 22nd, 2020. So that's another Isaiah 22:22 code, just like what we were looking at earlier. The watch dates for 2022, the repeating twos, and my old license when I was at Summer Street, Houston, Texas, 77007. My address was 1705. Genesis 17 verse 5 is the verse about Abram changing his name to Abraham. So that was a 1705. My social security number, the first 5 numbers are 62905. If you add 6 plus 2 plus 9, you get 1705. So they're both codes for the Genesis 17:5. My social security number and my old address. And there's a 777-77007. So this was the old ID. And here's the new one, updated to Livingston. The last haircut I got was in 2017, before the Great American Eclipse, on June 26, when I used to live at that Summer Street address, Sawyer Heights. In the series Lost, one of the main characters' name is Sawyer, and I used to live in Sawyer Heights off Taylor Street. And that was the last haircut I got at Sports Clips. I am now lakeside, and there's an island called Pine Island in Lake Livingston, Texas. So the noteworthy event, MH370, that went down 8 years later, that also happened the same exact year that Russia invaded the Ukraine previously, both 8 years ago. I was working as an engineer, and I used to like to travel. So the first time I went to Southeast Asia was in May of 2014. We booked the tickets before the plane crashed in March, but I flew Malaysia Air in May of 2014 to Bali, Saigon, and Bangkok. And when I was in Bali, we went to the Mount Ungong volcano. It was terrifying getting on a Malaysian airline flight right after that happened because it was all in the news and it was very scary. But we already had the tickets booked. I just find it was interesting that there's a series called Lost. This is on my driver's license number. And the real life event that it was based on has a 37, and I was in Southeast Asia around the same exact time.